Emmanuel Macron, the Rothschild French president, recently tried to negotiate, tried to make some commissions, tried to placate the Yellow Vest movement, and it went off terribly, as he, of course, was doing a press conference before 300 journalists with his call to, of course, public order. Now, of course, this is months, close to now 6 months of crazy protests that have been happening in Paris, France, that we've been covering carefully. But during his announcement, Emmanuel Macron said that he promised reforms. He vowed to cut taxes, but at the same time stay pro-business in an effort to quell a lot of the anger against him. And as many people say, his speech was pretty much a muted response, as many analysts and political pundits are saying that he definitely failed to impress all, as other people, a part of the Yellow Vest movement, are saying that he was just offering people crumbs. Jason, what's your takeaway on his address, on some of the key components he made? He made some interesting comments about immigration. He, of course, addressed the Yellow Vest movement. He even addressed his own smugness and snarky comments, which I found very interesting. But what do you make out of the tax incentives first presented by Macron?
It's not enough. It's not going to be enough. Everybody knows it. The 5 billion, I don't see it happening. He actually said, first of all, it's not like he was like, I am sorry, we will do what you say. Bad French, I got to stop. But he basically said, you're going to have to work harder. Now, a lot of people don't understand, especially in the United States, it's hard to grasp. The culture there is very different. They believe that you should not even be working a 40-hour work week, that you should have the equivalent of almost 2 months off a year and have a lot of incentives we don't have. But then again, they pay in not much more, but a little bit more in taxes. And this has really...
Well, it depends on what state you're in. They pay a lot of taxes, figuratively, a lot more than a lot of places in the United States, and they do have a lot more supposed welfare by the state. Sorry, keep going, Jason.
Yeah, but they understand that this is going to be marginal. Basically, they're saying our entire way of life has been cut down. We are working more for less. Our benefits are being cut. Meanwhile, the elite are not paying anything, especially not their fair share. That was not the message from Macron. Instead, he basically said, oh, you want your pension? Get ready to work harder or it's not going to come. Yeah. So, I think the BBC kind of knocked it out of the park here, Luke.
Wait, Jason, before you go there, I just kind of want to address one of the larger grievances of the Yellow Vest movement that I kind of uncovered by talking to them and reporting on the ground there. And a lot of their kind of misgrievances are not really just sympathetic to just one specific political cause. They're kind of all over the place. But one of the conditions that brought up this movement that now Macron has to address and try to appease and try to quell, which, by the way, is not going to work. We're going to tell you about that in a little bit. One of the conditions that brought up the Yellow Vest, and that is not just that they had a 35-hour work week. It's the fact that everything is so incredibly expensive in France, and this is one of the ways that a lot of the kind of banksters and bigger controllers kind of get us by increasing the price of everything. It's a subtle way of pretty much extorting more control of us. But I'll tell you, Jason, being in France, I have to get in and get out because it's so expensive. I had an Airbnb, literally 8-story walk up, little tiny room that used to be a former bathroom, $100 in Paris for one night minimum. $100 was like the cheapest ever. No, it was like $120, $140 because of the conversion with the euro. So the prices of everything have gone dramatically up. You go to Paris, France, you'll see it. And that's one of the conditions that led to a lot of the kind of anger by the people, just to make it clear here. But keep going here, Jason.
Yeah, no, like as you said, as prices go up, they're expected to work more and the quality of living goes down. And if you see this, one of the things, again, he's trying to placate to, seeing we're almost at 6 months. After this Saturday, Luke, we got 2 weeks, and they'll be at 6 full months of people in the street every single Saturday. They're saying more decentralized government. Well, this is in response to the fact that a lot of people in France are now saying, why aren't we doing a Frexit or Brexit? And we've already seen the opposition to Brexit in Europe and the demonization of people that want it, even though there are literally tens of thousands of people in the street demanding it, having it passed. It gets postponed and postponed and postponed. This feels like more bureaucratic bull shiznal to try to placate to the people and gain more time to structure how they're going to get around any real reforms. Listen, the BBC, again, knocked it out of the park by saying they're promising a lot, but at the end of the day, it's all the same. And this is not going to work. And people are going to remain in the streets. And Macron, again, wants to focus on the violence because that's all he's got. He knows the people are right. And I don't know how he's going to last in political office. I really think that at some point he's going to have to be taken out, Luke.
We're gonna address the violence in just a little bit because I was there for a lot of it. But again, what I found also interesting, he addressed some of his snarky comments. He apologized, which he said for comments that earned him a reputation for arrogance, such as the comment where he told an unemployed man that he could find a job by simply crossing the street and advising and a retiree not to complain. That's literally what he said before. I also found it interesting what he said on immigration. He called for better control of the borders. And he says that there needs to be changes in the Shanghai zone, of course, with the mass migration that has been happening here. Now, of course, with the yellow vests, he specifically, this whole kind of dialogue, this whole kind of discussion is primarily to quail the large, significant, huge mass demonstration that has been through everything and is still persisting in his country. And he said, according to the, about the yellow vests, quote, "I recognize and respect the yellow vest who came out into the streets at the beginning of the crisis and those who sympathized with them. But I will not give in to those who want to destroy institutions, who want the worst, and who want to riot," he said, referring to, of course, extremist groups that he says hijacked the protest. No. Number one, it's very hard for a Rothschild banker, a former Rothschild banker, to sympathize with anyone. Number one. Number two, violent elements. A lot of those violent elements predominantly came out of the repression of the Yellow Vest movement, where I was there from the very onsets, were initiated by Macron's forces, who have gone over and beyond the use of force that they are permitted to use, have used not only tear gas excessively in public populations, affecting everyone, women and children living in the neighborhood, tear gassing more people than I have ever seen a country do as to quail a resistance in my own life, covering protests. And at the same time, what's important to understand here is that the reaction was met by more violence, and then it kept escalating, and it kept escalating, and it kept escalating. And there's a reason a lot of people have lost eyeballs, lost hands. I was there next to someone who lost a hand during these protests. It's absolutely terrifying and jaw-dropping, and these extremist elements are not only being incentivized by being met with more extremist elements by the state that initiated the violence, but specifically the enforcement of these extremist elements, from what I have seen, myself personally. I don't know if this has changed. It could have changed it or not. But the police main approach to these protests is, oh, we're seeing a bunch of people standing on, rush, beat them up, drag them out. We've seen innocent elderly people beat, bloodied, unconscious in the street. Meanwhile, the violent factions that I've personally seen in the streets, literally breaking windows, going into private businesses, destroying, looting. The police usually standing by, not doing anything, while other yellow vest protesters are fighting them. There's a huge contingent of the yellow vest movement that is still peaceful, that is still nonviolent, that is not getting any media coverage that needs to be covered. There's always a group of people on a part of the yellow vest literally standing there in front of the riot cops saying, hey, stop. We're not here to attack. We're not here to fight. There's literal people standing in front of businesses saying no, cleaning up businesses because of saying, hey, no, we are not representative of this violence. And of course, again, those are important points to understand here. And this is why I believe Macron's message is falling short, because it's falling short of the truth. And that's why there's going to be more massive riots. This is why there's going to be more insanity unfolding in the streets in France, all over the country, from a movement that has inspired other protests all around the world. And this is something to especially keep an eye on. It's something I'm going to be specifically tweeting about tomorrow on twitter.com/Luke WeAreChange. I'm sidelined, sadly, with a medical emergency. I can't make it. I feel torn. And I'm still also recovering from my last kind of encounters in France, which were just absolutely insane. So Stay tuned to the Twitter account for, I guess, more information. Anything else you want to say, Jason? You want to close it off here?
No, that's about it. Expect more and more protests. This was almost a laughable move by Macron, who I believe's power is waning in the area. Folks, we are posting 4 videos a day over 2 different channels, Pulse Change and WeAreChange. Please make sure you're subscribed to both. Ring those bells. Share the videos you like on social media. Get in the comments section. Tell us what to cover. What do you like us to cover? We're always listening as well. But most importantly, listen, they're doing it in France. Why can't we get out there and be the change we want to see in the world?